With food addiction, there's a lot of shame. Like it's not, it's not like in my brain, I'm like, this is not cool. I don't have
Well, I
to,
think with any addiction, right, there's shame. It's all shame and
it's
guilt.
all shame. I think in my head at the time, I was like, God, I would really rather like holding a pretty glass with like a drink. Wish that was it. I wish it was not food. Like it's just, and it was my entry into a lot of excavation, and from there, that just, I mean, thousands of hours of inner work because I would go to 3 to 5 meetings a week. I took out the stigma and the shame, and I got really comfortable with being able to have loud, vulnerable, authentic, not alone.
Hi, everyone. I am Julie Edmonds, your host of Channeled, tapping into the wisdom of your soul.
Hello and welcome to Channeled, tapping into the wisdom of your soul. And today I'm joined by the lovely Julie Reisler. She is the founder of the Intuitive Life Designer Coach Academy, and she also coaches and teaches at Georgetown University. She's trained and coached thousands of people and led with both strategy, soul, and intuition. Hi, Julie. It's great to have you today.
Thank you, Julie. I'm psyched to be here and love your energy, and I'm excited to have this conversation.
Yeah, me too. And we love Julie's, right?
Love Julie's. Always.
Well, welcome. Okay, so let's get started. I mean, you moved from corporate to this intuitive coaching world, and this is a lot of the guests I have on my podcast have a similar story, and I'd love to hear about yours.
Yeah, this was not the track that I was on or I thought I was on. And I think it's important to say this is probably, I'm assuming anyone tuning in is probably had enough life that where things happen and it's like a wake up, there can be wake up moments. And for me, I was in corporate America in HR. Everything was fine. I had a good job, benefits, all of those things. I would say that if, the word fine is not really one that's aspirational, it was just, it worked. I really had a kind of a wake up call for myself that happened after doing a lot of inner work. And I think what happened was really began to connect to my intuitive voice and intuition at a deeper level. And it felt like somebody ripped through the timeline. I literally got orders like, you're going to change it up. And that looked like marriage, very challenging. I had two very young kids at that time. Went back to school, got a degree in coaching when people were like, what is that? This is 15 years ago. Ended up at the same time when I finally did leave corporate. I also had a health breakdown, like everything that was needing to be released was being released. It was really intense. However, huge lessons, and certainly, talking about intuition and connecting to her inner self and voice and higher self, all of that. It's been life changing and life giving. And
But wait, hold on, let's stop right there. So, because you said a
yeah,
lot in there.
yeah, I did. Yeah, please,
So,
wherever you'd like
so
to.
it sounded like the universe was speaking really loudly, and you said you got marching orders. So, what did that
Yeah.
sound like? Was it a phone call? Was it a dream? What happened?
Yeah. For me, it was a literal wake up. So my son at the time was about 9 months old. My daughter was probably not quite two. I have kids that are very close in age. And it was literally 3:33 in the morning because I remember I woke straight up. I saw my alarm clock. It's before I had an iPhone. It's like 15 years ago. Had the clock. I thought I was having a heart attack. My heart was pounding. I'd never experienced anything like this. I really like I thought I was dying. It was quite scary. It was a panic attack, and I didn't know that at the time. And the most calm, direct voice in my voice, but what it felt like was something very calm and clear and direct, unlike the mind chatter that we have or that I have. And it just said, you're not okay here. You're not okay here. And for me, that like cracked open everything, right? So
Well,
a marriage,
I know that voice. I know the difference. It's like it's like a
yeah,
full body
yeah,
knowing. Yeah.
yeah. I will say, and this was my experience, there was a full moon that night because my bedroom at the time had a big window above the bed and I could feel the full moon coming, the light coming in. And I felt like it truly, and I'd never had this before, it felt like I was hearing it from my higher self and the moon. Somehow it was speaking to me, like this energy.
Yeah.
And I have never been the same since. In the best ways, that was not an easy point, and that changed everything.
But it was just a knowing, just a full body knowing. Wow.
Mhm.
So you said you were doing a lot of inner work. What inner work were you doing that led you to this moment?
Yeah, I found myself in a lot of inner work. The doors that I came through in the beginning were through 12 steps. I struggled with really with stuffing down emotions with food, with sugar. That was my variety, my choice of addiction, my addiction of choice. And it's one you can cover up. It's an interesting one. You got to eat 3 times, 3 times a day. Like it just was wreaking havoc in all parts of my life. I got into recovery program over 20, almost 25 years ago at this point. And the woman I was
But you
working with,
got into it because a lot of people think of 12 steps with alcohol. So yours is 12 steps with
yeah, with food.
emotional eating.
Yep. So there with 12 steps, what is so amazing, there's now, I mean, there's programs for alcohol, drug addiction, food, money, gambling, sex addiction. I mean, all like anything where you would like more support or help with. My sister's recovering alcoholic, so there's, programs for that as well. And yeah, and this is with food addiction, there's a lot of shame. Like it's not, it's not like in my brain, I'm like, this is not cool. I don't have
Well,
like
I
a
think with any addiction, right, there's shame. It's all shame and
it's
guilt.
all
And
shame. Yeah. I think in my head at the time I was like, God, I would really rather like holding a pretty glass with like a drink. Wish that was it. I wish it was not food. Like it's just and it was my entry into a lot of excavation and from there that just I mean thousands of hours of inner work because I would go to 3 to 5 meetings a week. I had a sponsor, I was working the steps and then that led to other spiritual
these were like
endeavors.
group meetings and then like cognitive behavioral, like speaking and talking out loud. Were there any meditations? Were there anything like that that you're doing?
That I was doing there, you mean, at that time?
Mhm.
Yeah, I mean, when you start to share in 3-minute increments, that's usually what it is, and you're reading spiritual text, which really is saying the answer's spiritual. It's not going to be through my ego, through my doing it myself. And so I started to see people of all different backgrounds sharing. It took out the stigma and the shame, and I got really comfortable with being able
You're
to
not
be
alone.
yeah, vulnerable, authentic, not alone. Exactly. The woman who's my sponsor, we did Artist's Way, Julia Cameron's book
Oh, I
together.
love that.
Yeah, changed everything. I started to see, oh my God, all these things I stopped doing because I just thought I'm not good enough. All the crazy crap in my head. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I know all that stuff comes up. And then as soon as you're able to, from my experience with hypnotherapy, as soon as you're able to remove the trauma and the clutter, then you have all this space for next steps. So tell us about your next steps. So now
Yeah.
you're has this academy and
Yeah. I think that excavation led to that breakdown, breakthrough, just a shift. And so, fast forward 11 years, I left corporate America 11 years ago, right around now. And I've really let my intuition guide everything. And this program, right at the beginning of the pandemic, I woke up and I heard a voice say, you need to start a coaching certification now. And I had been teaching at Georgetown for a long time. I mean, that had already been happening, but this was not, I share this because it wasn't like on my checklist or plan, just like, having a health breakdown, getting divorced. None of those were really what I was planning. However, this program, so now this is now the sixth year, with cohort number 13 that's about to open and start soon.
lucky number
It's
13.
Lucky 13, it feels so divinely guided, Julie. It feels like, I just keep listening and refining, and we've had students from all over the world go through it, and it's just it brings in the competencies of coaching, which is a beautiful healing art and realm and modality, but it also brings in intuitive and healing arts and sciences that I've been trained in. And it's really, I feel like there's, my higher self is guiding this. It's
No,
it's pretty
totally.
cool.
What are
Yeah.
your intuitive arts that you've been trained in? Talk to us about that.
So, yeah, I've always been extremely intuitive myself. I will say that we all have access to intuition. My best friend, I was talking to her recently. I grew up with her when we were 5. We've been best friends since. And she's like, Julie, you've been psychic since you were little, but I did not trust it. And I grew up in a very intellectual area, right? Literally next to Harvard, like in Boston, that area. So it was, that was not logical. Took me
Brains
a
in the
long,
game.
yes,
All
it took me
brains in the
Yes, it took me a long time to realize, oh, wait a minute, this is beyond. We don't need to understand. I don't need logic. I've done everything from mediumship training. I did an incredible program, and I know some people identify with her, some don't, but I did a really intense, like inner, I would say, what's the word? Connecting with your inner child program with Teal Swan, which was life changing. Mediumship with Suzanne Giesman, who's become a mentor and a friend. I've been trained with the Heart Math Institute and learned about heart intelligence and wisdom, positive neuroplasticity. I've done a lot also with just my own self with chakras, a lot of different healers. I mean, my own retreats that I've been on. So a ton of, and my own deep diving into my intuition and connecting with the spirit realm. That's always been an interest. And
Well, I have a
so,
question for all
yeah,
that you just said because it's a lot, right? You've trained a lot.
yeah.
And what's your favorite?
My favorite. Oh, that's a good question. I would say I've loved every aspect because they're all different. With the mediumship training, what it felt like for me, and I did the 1 and 2, I felt like number one, I was at Hogwarts, which is Harry Potter, it felt so natural. It actually felt so much easier than all the times and years I've been in school and had to study. Like this something about it, we did all different kinds of exercises and ways to access, connecting with spirit and with higher self of somebody else and loved ones. It felt like who I really am. And I actually believe we all have these abilities. And it
That's
just
why
felt
you're on channel, tapping into the wisdom of your soul.
That's why I'm here. It was like, oh my God, I've known this. And what I need is to really build my trust in myself. That's it. Because it's here. It was obvious. It was obvious when I was working with people that there was something else. And I gave me a break from my left brain, my, the logical trying to make sense. Like that is the thing that I constantly am like, all right, sweetheart, chill the F out. Like we don't need you right now. Yeah.
Well, you grew up that way, right? And you're right next to Harvard. You're been a professor, teaching,
Yeah.
coaching, and that is amazing that you tap into that other side of your brain
Yeah.
where it's like let go, surrender, and accept and receive. So
Yeah.
you're here in mediumship. Do you have a great story you can share with us?
So, I mean, goodness, there's a lot of beautiful story. I'm like, which one? I mean, what I will say, the one that stands out to me that happened at I think it was the second training. I was paired with this beautiful human being who I did not know, and we had one of the exercises where we would just write down everything that came to mind to me about when I was talking to him about I don't even think it had an object. It wasn't psychometry. I was literally, I think, just paired with him and was tuning in. There wasn't much else going on. And oh my gosh, brings chills now. I mean, afterwards we were like, what just happened? I could see this ring. I could feel and sense like the words that were being said to him from his person from his partner. She was like, I could feel her energy. I could feel.
Wait, now is her partner alive, right? So she was
So she was actually she was not well and about to transition. I did not know
okay,
this.
got it.
And I felt her on the other side already well, like in spirit.
Crossing over halfway and halfway. Okay.
Yeah. And he was like, oh my God, the ring that like there were a couple things that came up that I could feel and see. He's like, I cannot even, he was crying. He's like, this is her and she has not been able to communicate. And it was just so profound. It was so profound because it's not, anything special. It's just I was given the gift for him to be able to connect with her and to know she's with him and she's okay. And it
Wow.
was just beautiful. It was
And
life-changing.
confirmation.
Yeah. 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 Things I would never have known, and I was like, I want to do more. However, my prayer is always, source, use me for the highest good. So if you want me to do more of this, make it clear. If not, I'll just keep going my way and it'll happen when it happens. But it felt like a gift.
Can you repeat that again? So what's your
Yeah.
mantra for your highest good?
Yeah, I say things often. It's something like, I'll just say source, universe, divine, God, please make it clear to me. If this is something for my highest good and others that I'm here to work with, make it clear for me to do this. Please help me to continue to being, a way in the world that's for the highest good of everyone. I really like that highest good for all of us, for me and for everyone, because that's usually the signature of the divine. That to me is the signature. It's going to be the
Right. And you're
highest.
asking for you and everyone. And I love that you say
Yeah.
not higher, but highest.
Yes. Yes.
Highest. There's a difference.
Yeah.
Okay. So when clients come to you, what's a like what do you offer?
Yeah. So I've been doing one-on-one coaching for years and years and years. I for a long time worked with a lot of people in corporate, a lot of women that are high, C-suite executives that are in those positions and really want to tune more into the part of them that's waking up. Intuition, connecting. When I used to work more with companies, it was like tiptoeing around that, right? Just
Oh, for
that,
sure. Yeah.
yeah, that's not, especially government, military, which I've worked with before. I was like, it came up and I'd be like, it's okay. This is natural. And, but now, because most of my clients are coming to me, they're not necessarily through a company. I find it's really like the type A plus woman who is like, listen, I can do that all day long, but that is not what's stirring my soul. And I am like, okay, how are we going to move into what's stirring your soul? And often it is around intuitive development and connecting, to their soul's purpose, to the other side, to I really show up, Julie, and I ask, and this is why I love this. It's different with every person in every session. Like, how am I best going to be of service here? Use me and all my gifts and tools so that I can be of best service. So it looks different for each person, but it tends to be this awakening, kind of stepping into something way more aligned. That's the spot I like, tend to
Yeah.
attract.
No, that's great. I love the practice and I love, what you say to open up your divine and tap in and just sort of receive the information and follow the guidance, which is wonderful and hard to do starting. How did you develop that muscle? Or, I call it a muscle, but that
Yeah.
side of
I,
you.
I think of it as a muscle too. I think this experience, this 333 wake up call, and knowing in my bones it was right, even though it was so scary as a former recovering people pleaser, as somebody who like perfectionist, like you don't quit anything to end a marriage. I mean, it shook my whole foundation. And I made a vow with myself. I don't know if I ever made it. I mean, later I made it like I'm making a vow, but I made a vow kind of consciously, unconsciously. I promise to tune in and to follow my inner guidance because I knew, and it's true, 15 years in, right? Like it's just, I wouldn't be here with you. I mean, I feel, and it's not about age or aging, but I feel like someone took 20 years off of me. I actually, in pictures in my 20s and early 30s, vitality wise, I look younger today than I do there. 50, I'm 50, almost 51. Like I just, it's not about the numbers or the age. It's like the energy, right? And vitality. And for me, I just decided, this is something I mean, I do my whole business that way. And the times that I've not listened, there's a few times decisions I made and I overrode it with logic and big lesson. big lesson not to do that.
Well, it's interesting you mentioned, how you look. I mean, I can relate as well. And I think, in our early 20s, especially with women, we wear these masks, and they're just from fear, from shame, like you mentioned, from self-limiting beliefs, not enough. And after you do the work, that authenticity, that beautiful divine soul is shining. And, we could see it. I could see it in you, as you speak, as you talk. You mentioned you're a recovering perfectionist.
Mhm.
Let's talk about that.
Yeah, I think perfectionist slash I would put people pleaser with it because again, this is less so today, more so, being married into this big family and just really wanting to find stability and wanting to be, I did feel very loved there. And, the fear of like somehow not being loved or being accepted because came from different backgrounds. And I think the way, and many of us who are empaths and highly sensitive, I very early on could read my father's thoughts. He's a recovering, he's a veteran from Vietnam and had PTSD. We did not know what that was in the 80s. And I just remember, like, in an eerie way, reading his thoughts that later he confirmed that would never have been on the outward. You wouldn't know that. And so part of being so in tune like that, I got very in tune to if someone's okay or not okay, or what they like or they don't like. And it became very confusing because as a human, what do we typically want is to connect and be liked. And so I think that was so important that I really like lost myself. I really lost myself. And I was so good at, maybe others get this. I was so good at disassociating. Like when I had a tough situation, my dad, struggled financially. We grew up in a very affluent area, so this was challenging. Very he struggled with jobs and you wouldn't see that on the outside, but I knew what was going on. I knew he was suicidal. He never said that out loud. I knew all of this. And so I think for me, the root of it, for looking at the root was my doing well in life and school kind of kept him alive. That was what I felt at a deep level. So when you have that, it was that kind of
That's
inner
a
trauma.
big pressure though on
Yeah.
yourself, thinking that
Yeah.
you're keeping your father alive.
Oh, absolutely. And I actually think it's not far from he and I in the little bit we've talked about this, he's talked later now getting support and help in his 80s, that that the suicide that was there. And I knew this. I knew it intuitively. So that pressure of I need to be a certain way, and I can read people's energy very quickly and their thoughts, and they're not always exactly thoughts, but I was very good at picking up energy in people. And that's great and it's not great. I did some acting and I always said that's great on a stage or if you want to pay me to act, but to do that in your life, to be that people pleasing, that shape shifting, like that's not, I lost myself in that. I really did. And I don't blame anybody. It's just that's what
No, easy
happened.
to do.
Yeah.
When you're tapping into other people's feelings, thoughts, and
Yeah.
fears that aren't even your own.
Yes.
um, you can totally feel lost in outer space. So how did you create boundaries? Because I think that's an important part for this conversation.
Yeah, I learned a lot of that through the work in 12-step world and learning how, Louise Hay, who love her and grew up with her in my ear, it starts with loving yourself, right? It's all comes down to self-love. So for me, that organic process of truly learning to love myself and accept not perfect. I've got things I'm working on. I have feelings like anger and sadness and grief and jealousy. Like I have those feelings and it's okay. And as I took food out of the picture, I mean, I was eating, but not the stuff that I was binging on. I started to really get more present and clear hearted. And so that those tools helped considerably. And I think just really getting as human, we're meant to have an array of emotions. It's how am I going to be with them? I was not taught that. Um, and I think self love, I think it's the root of it all. That is really what started to shift. And with boundaries, when you do really love yourself, building that, I've been doing this now almost 25 years of deep, deep, I mean, daily work. So it's not perfect. It never will be. It's a lifelong journey. However, coming from love and love of myself, and love of others, the more you love and honor yourself, the more you can give to others. It's just shifted very naturally. It's been a process, but I'm remarried and I'm very good with boundaries today. Very good. I'm comfortable with them. They feel loving. Every now and then, like a nudge, a little voice comes up like, oh, I hope that didn't hurt her feelings or his feelings. And I know when it's coming from a loving place, that's what's true, right? That's authentic. So it's been a process. I think self-love is at the core of it all. I really do. And worthiness.
And yeah, and acceptance. I could see where you would get confused though, because it's like you're feeling other people's feelings and thoughts, and you started with your father,
Yeah.
and that could be very confusing to try to figure out what's mine and what's not mine. What do I accept and what I don't accept? Because when you're taking on, you feel like almost you're responsible for someone else's feelings. That's also can be a trauma response.
Yeah.
How did you decipher, what was yours and what wasn't?
Yeah, that's a great question, Julie. And for anyone, I don't know if you've done anything with human design. It's funny, I'm not an expert in it, but what was very helpful for me when I did, so human design looks at the energy channels. And I remember when we were looking at it, it was like your emotional center is open. And I'm like, oh, hell yes, it is. Like I actually don't always know how I feel, but my intuition, my sacral is my guide. And this is a whole different conversation. But what I'll say is, it's taken me time. I actually have learned to slow down and I need to ask myself. First of all, I do a lot of energy hygiene. And I do a lot of like, let me ground and let me get back into myself. And I sometimes have to ask myself, is this even mine? And I'll tell you what, sometimes it's not. Sometimes it's not. And I can feel that. And I would imagine anyone, like attracts like, I mean, I'm high empath. I mean, I could really, if I really turned it on, I'm getting chills. I mean, I could feel you and I could so much so with clients when I'm working with them, I lose myself in a good way. I'm with them and I'm so in their space. It helps me to be very, probably like what you do, channeling in a way that's like, I almost lose Julie here.
You have
However,
to, right? You have to let go of Julie's
yeah, identity.
logical, yeah, yes, and so that you can just accept
Yeah.
it. Correct.
I have learned in life how to, first of all, ground myself, come back to myself, hand on my heart. There's a lot of different little tools I use. And I would say I have to ask myself sometimes. And sometimes it's like, this Saturday, I hurt my finger and I just had my poor husband, we're at the gym and I just start crying. And I don't know why this is not typical for me, but it just was. I just was having a rough moment. The car stopped short. I almost hit something and I'm like, okay, release, and the eclipse, whatever. It's just a lot happening.
Oh
And I
yeah,
had,
blood moon.
well, it was like literally that timing. So, okay, that's happening. But I was actually, it felt great because I'm like, that is me. That's me. I'm feeling overwhelmed right now and I'm going to express it. And there were times I couldn't cry. I couldn't express. I didn't know if it was me. I didn't want to. I didn't feel, I mean, it's been a lot of work to know that. And I sometimes have to ask myself, I don't always know. I have to make sure I'm tuning in because it's easy for me to feel people. I mean, it's like that is no problem. I work
Well, let
on,
me ask that really quickly because I
yeah,
mean, I can completely understand. So for
yes,
you, and for a lot of people, when they start to go through that process, maybe in the beginning, and they're like, "Oh my God, I'm crying, or I'm sad, or I'm upset, or I'm feeling anxious," and
yeah.
what are some practical tools that you can tell our readers our readers, our listeners, well, if they're reading the transcript, I guess, that they can do that immediately could shift, who they are and those feelings and emotions, let those go.
So at the core, this is where I think and feel that when you can connect in with your higher self, sometimes in psychology it might be thought of as like your inner loving parent. For me, I really like to think of my higher self that is the eternal, infinite spirit, the guide that is each of us has one and is we're all connected. And so giving yourself space, grace, a place to really be with whatever's happening. For me, that means not running away from it, not bypassing it. That in itself is like a black belt. I mean, it may not be for you, for others. For me, it really was. So giving yourself the space to just feel whatever you feel and having conversation. I mean, we talk to ourselves all the time, 70,000 thoughts a day or so. So I've learned to have conversations. Louise Hay is excellent at this, actually. A lot of her
She was the
meditations.
master.
Yeah, the master of this, right? Like, all right, sweetheart. All right, Joel. Like, I'll just usually say, like, all right, Julie. All right, dear. Hand on your heart. Like, what? All right, what do you feel? Like, just I kind of talk myself in a way, inner coach myself, and I imagine my higher self. You could think of your inner loving parents, like this beautiful, loving being with me and holding me and has got me, and I really then can feel that is helpful. You could
It's
imagine,
beautiful because you're feeling sort of a safe space. You're creating a
yeah,
safe.
yes, within myself, yes. And to be able to bring up anything, right? Like I could feel it when I started crying. I could feel this loving guidance around me. It helped me immediately. I still felt sad and overwhelmed and my finger hurt and I was like, but it soothed me. And that to be able to soothe ourselves, and I do believe we've got access to outside of time and space that is always here loving us, always. And our intuition is like the umbilical cord, right? From me to my higher self, you and your higher self, highest self, whatever you want to call it, true self. So that's what I do. A lot of that, a lot of talking to myself. And I think of Louise Hay. Sometimes I'll think of her energy. I can feel her
Yeah, you
often.
channel Louise Hay.
I love her. I have had her off the cuff. Not, I don't do well when I'm like, I'm going to logic is like, nope. She has come through absolutely, and I feel her often. I feel her, and I'm laughing because I'm hearing like, I was human, she's human, not perfect, but a beautiful powerful light. And in this space that she's in is like absolutely, like we could all call her in. She's incredible.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, that's interesting. Tapping into Louise Hay, who was passed, I don't know how many years ago. Um, and like, what would your explanation be to just someone listening? Like, how can you tap into someone? What if like thousands of us are trying to tap into this one person?
Yeah, and I'm not like, I don't have the best answer, but the way I understand it is, first of all, we cannot come, it's like what Einstein said, you cannot come from the same level of consciousness. We cannot come from a logical thinking mind about this. I really believe as much as all of us intuitives and we work on understanding, there's going to be a knowing in the crossover that is just in human form is hard to fully comprehend, right? We're trying to solve something with logic and it's not. And so I, in my humble opinion, all of us, in truth, being non physical, right? Our true essence, non physical, which is eternal and is um, beautiful, love, divine, and we're all of the same creator. So we can connect with any being here, present or not, at any time because it's not about the laws of time and space in this planet, in this realm. I really feel, and if I were to stop and pause, like I can kind of feel her in the space, like at any time with a loved one that's passed on, with a being that you look up to. There's so many teachers in history, Louise. Hey, I love Wayne Dyer, Jesus, Buddha, like whoever you're, Mary Magdalene, whoever you're connected to, or someone I didn't mention that you just, Ram Dass. I love Ram Dass, like whoever it is. Or I sometimes like to say, the higher beings of light, angelic realm. I don't even have to know the names. They're accessible because we're not talking about physical structure. It's
Right,
it's it's a non-physical, non-local. It's not in this same realm as 3D. It's just not.
right. Yeah, and it's hard to comprehend. You're right. You can't comprehend it actually with the logical mind. It's funny you
Yeah.
mentioned I did a past life regression just recently, and they said part of my lineage was connected to Mary Magdalene.
Yes, I have actually had that myself, so I'm sure we're connected.
Wow, yes. Well, I mean, no coincidence that Julie and Julie are doing a podcast together on Channeled.
Yeah. Yeah,
Um,
that's beautiful.
so yeah, no, it's wonderful. So what more, sir? So you like the mediumship. What else?
Yeah, I also, for me, what comes through intuitively a lot is energy, like chakra. I lights up energy wheels. Honestly, often medical. things. This is not in my left brain, so I'm laughing because I'm I'm hearing myself say, "Don't try to figure this out, Julie." This happens when I'm not trying. I can often, just like I can feel people's energy, I can often feel what's going on in their body, in one way, body is typically it's a reflection of our mind, right? So I can feel and sense. That's happened in some very interesting times in my life where I was not planning or thinking of that. To me, one of the actually, it's day to day, it sounds mundane, but I get a lot of signs when I'm driving. I think it's because I'm in a state, not completely hypnotic state, but I'm in a different state than, for example, talking and really focusing here. And so many signs. I mean, I try to capture as many as I can. It's just beautiful. It's helped to build the muscle of
Well,
faith.
give me an
I
example.
just,
Give me an example of a sign that that while you're
so,
driving.
so many signs. So, okay. I'm like, which one do I pull? I've had signs. I'll give you a great one. This is a great one that happened years ago. Laura Lynn Jackson, who I interviewed later, she's a medium, well-known medium. I was listening to her. I was at the gym, and she was talking about creating a sign with loved ones. I am named after my grandfather. I never met him. I feel very connected to him, and I thought, all right. I'm just going to pull this out of the air. All right, we're going to do. He had a boat. He loved to be on the water. So I said, okay, a blue anchor, I don't know, green apples, like that's random. And some zebras. Like you don't see zebras a whole lot. I'm like, great, those are the signs. Let's see what do you got for me? What do you got for me, Grandpa
Wait,
Jared?
okay, wait, hold on. A blue anchor, a
Yeah.
green apple, and some zebras. Okay.
So that was it. It was late. I got out of the gym, got in my car. I pulled out and I kid you not, 20 seconds later, there is a white truck next to me. I think I saw this one other time. This is like 8 years ago. All that was on the side of the truck was a big bowl of like 30 green apples. That's it on the truck. Driving, I had a full body chill. I was like, damn, that is fast. It keeps going. I then pulled to another light as I was going home, and a car pulled in front. And on the back of the license was his initials and the day that he transitioned, 710. So I was like,
Oh
okay.
my gosh.
And then the next day, I was driving. I was part of this program over the bridge in Virginia. I'm in Maryland. I was driving over the bridge and driving through Rock Creek, and there's the zoo. And I mean, I have driven by there many, many times. Usually they have pictures of all the animals. Like that's how it is, the little squares. For some bizarre reason, they had like 20 squares. They were all zebras, all of them. And when I
I
drove
was
back,
wondering where the zebra was going. I was like, was there on the side of the road?
yeah, no zebra on the road because, this area left the zoo. And on the way back, I saw it again. And I remember thinking, like, it wasn't a thinking, it was a, like, this is absolutely amazing. And I've had so many more signs with him. I mean,
The universe has a sense of humor too. It's
yeah,
like, that's great. I love that. Those are beautiful stories.
yeah,
So interesting what you said about driving, unless you're in like hectic, stop and go traffic.
yeah,
Um, we talk about that in hypnotherapy. Like, you ever drive home and you don't remember driving home, it's because you were actually in that hypnotic alpha brainwave state. And it's
yeah.
easy to do. It's a good place to do while you're driving, not falling asleep.
Yeah,
More
no, we don't want to
like
do that.
more into
Right.
a higher, like kind of guided allow. Sometimes I'm driving and I'm thinking, I'm not driving. I mean, I'm like being driven and I'm safe regardless of whatever is happening around me. So
Yeah.
before we wrap up, I'd love to hear, like, is there something you do every morning when you wake up, or is there something type of energetic movement, or like just a practical daily practice that you can share with our listeners?
Yeah. I have a couple different things, but what this is actually coming to mind to heart. One of the things I do, I fall asleep and I wake up this way. I actually must intuitive. I don't know. I always fall asleep with my hand on my heart. And I love that. I love it. It's so comforting. And I just think about like I'm sending love to myself and to everyone. I also wake up, my hand is always on my heart. It's very, very grounding. What I usually do after, I love to give myself a little space to kind of daydream and wake up a little bit quietly if I can. I meditate, but I will imagine sending like beams of love, of light. I imagine sending it all the way down a mile each way. I think about sending it all the way up to all of the celestial beings, the birds, and then I send it down to the earth. And when I'm driving, I do that. Especially if someone cuts me off, I try to send like and imagine their golden energetic higher self. So that's something. And part of the practice too is when I'm done is to bring that energy back and to feel like back in myself, bring that energy back and to ground myself. Both of those feel really, really nourishing to me.
That is beautiful. Anytime I ever think, and I don't do that often, you reminded me when I do say I need to bring all my energy back, it's like this huge whoosh, like how much energy did I have out
Yeah.
all over the place?
Yeah, exactly. Beautiful.
So let's wrap up. You have an intuitive life coach certification coming up, lucky number 13. So tell us about that. How can someone register? What will they get out of it? What can they look
Yeah.
forward to?
This is a beautiful program that I was guided to lead and to start. It's been refined many times now. This is the lucky 13th cohort. We do have an amazing group. I keep it intimate. There are a few spots left. So if anyone's really interested, I would love to connect
And we're
and
filming this in beginning of September 2025.
yes. Yes, and it starts September 24th. So we got to you're interested, talk to me or sign up. Yeah, it's really it's like it's a powerful transformative experience. It's certification, so you're going to absolutely get certified. We meet live every week. It's designed for adult learners. You're going to learn how to really trust and tap into your intuition and the foundation of coaching. So much there. There's mentor coaches. I'm live with you. You get coached by me, by them, and you also get to practice. There's a practicum. I would say it's also equally a personal, transformative experience. You're going to connect with your higher self. You're going to have a whole new relationship with your intuition. And it's what I hear after is people feel like they entered a portal of like
Mhm.
deep self connection, deep self love, and like a rebirth. It's really powerful. I've been teaching coaching over 12 years, coaching 15. I love this program because it allows me, because unlike at a university,
Wow.
I'm able to bring everything in. So to sign up,
Yeah, no
just
rules on what you can't teach, right?
it's beautiful. And I just go with where I'm guided and the feedback and it's really evolved into something very, very special and sacred. And the link you'll have to sign up is on the website link. And certainly it's high value, it's high touch. This is like not, a big program where you get lost. There's a lot of other programs that are, similar type that are honestly 2 to 3 times more. But what I love about this is we keep it intimate. I keep it intimate very specifically and designed in a way so that everyone in there feels seen, heard, loved up on, and gets really amazing, mentorship and guidance. And it's a space to transform, to become, a phoenix out of the ashes for sure. I've hundreds of people that I've trained at this point. In general, and it's sacred. It really, and your intuition will skyrocket. I always say expect miracles because that's what happens. Yeah.
Yeah, and there's something very, very sacred and special when you get a group of people together like that in that community.
Yeah.
Well, Julie, it's been a pleasure. Where can our listeners find you?
Yeah, and Julie, thank you. This has been so wonderful and really and just real. JulieReisler.com. My website is a great place to find me. You can always find me
Spell
on
your last name.
Instagram. Yes, it's REI, like the store, SLER. That's a good way.
JulieReisler.com. Okay. And the
JulieReisler.com.
certification program, I know we'll put the link in the bottom, but it's also, can they find that on your website?
They can find that on the website and definitely scroll through. There's a ton of information, resources, testimonials, videos, the program guide, like anything and everything you want to know about the program is there and it's detailed. I do still have a very high functioning left brain, and
I can
that
tell.
is, yeah, I just, that's been very helpful to create a whole certification. So that is it,
I
it's
love the crossover.
yeah, it's both. You'll get both. Yep. The
That's
science and the
amazing.
healing. Yep.
Well, Julie, thank you so much. And for all of our listeners, if you like this podcast, please share and subscribe for more. And thank you, everyone, and tapping into your wisdom of your soul channeled. Thanks, Julie.